You ever buy your wife a new shampoo and realize, weeks later, she's still using the old one? That's where it started. Not the betrayal. No, that train had left the station long before. But the unraveling? That began with a damn shampoo bottle. I'd spent 23 bucks on that sleek little thing from a boutique store downtown. Organic. Floral notes. Minimalist label. It even matched the color palette of our bathroom. Soft whites and eucalyptus green. Thoughtful, right? But Monica, my wife, she kept using the old one. One of those heavy, drugstore brands. The label was half-peeled and sun-faded, and it had her initials scribbled on the back in Sharpie. I figured she was just being sentimental. Lazy. Maybe both. Until I found out she was carrying it in her purse. Yep, a full-size bottle. Not a travel version. Not one of those fancy pump ones. A half-empty, clunky thing in her bag, sloshing around next to her lipstick and the pack of gum she never offered me. "Why is this in your bag?" I asked one night as she got ready for her book club. No books in sight, just a low-cut blouse and the same perfume she wore on our first date, the one she stopped using around me a year ago. She barely looked up. "Oh, it's just convenient. The gym doesn't always have soap I like." She didn't go to the gym. That night, I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the bottle. There was something off about it, too clean, like someone had wiped it down, too cared for, like it meant something. That's when I remembered who gave it to her. Her friend, Brandon, the guy from her marketing team who just gets her and makes the best playlists. She once played me a song he sent her, said it reminded him of her laugh. I didn't say anything, but I remembered that laugh, the one I hadn't heard in months, the one that used to be mine. Now, I'll admit, I'm not the guy who snoops. I'm not the guy who plants bugs or sets up cameras and teddy bears. I believe in trust, but I also believe in backups. So a few weeks back, when I first got that feeling, that slow, tightening kind of suspicion, I swapped her shampoo bottle. Not the contents, just the shell. My version looked identical. Still had her little MJ initials scribbled on the side. But inside the cap, a tiny GPS tracker. One of those experimental gadgets from a friend of mine in logistics. Used to be for tracking freight shipments across states. Turns out, it works just as well for tracking dishonesty across city limits. And boy, did she travel. The first few days, I told myself I was wrong. Maybe she really was just going to a gym. Maybe she had a friend's apartment she chilled at. Maybe the bottle just liked sightseeing. But then the pings got consistent. Same address, same nights. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and one Saturday, she claimed to be at her sister's bridal tasting. Sister's been married for 4 years. The location? A beige townhouse in a part of town where parking tickets go to die and affairs go to thrive. I took my time. Didn't confront her. Just watched. Listened. Gathered. I'm not a revenge kind of guy. I'm a prep work kind of guy. I don't throw punches. I calculate angles. So I waited. And the best part? She had no idea. She kept carrying that shampoo bottle like it was some love token, unaware it was the breadcrumb trail straight to her second life. Convenient. Until I showed up. At the door. And that, my friend, is where we begin. The door was painted the kind of beige that screams, "We have throw pillows with quotes on them." No doorbell. Just a little brass knocker shaped like a lion's head, because irony loves to accessorize. I stood there for a moment, not knocking, not moving, just watching. Her car was in the driveway, parked at a slight angle like she always did, because the lines are just a suggestion. I used to find that cute. Now, it just told me she was comfortable here. Too comfortable. A few windows were cracked open, letting out the faint hum of a playlist I didn't recognize. Indie pop, heavy on the acoustic. The kind of music you play when you're trying to create a mood that feels like a heartfelt lie. I didn't knock right away. Instead, I pulled out my phone, opened the tracking app, and watched that little blue dot blink inside the house. She hadn't gone anywhere in over 2 hours. Stationary. Settled. A man answered the door. You ever see someone's face and just know they think they're winning? That was him. Mid-30s. Tight V-neck. Designer stubble. Hairstyled like it took effort to look effortless. He looked at me the way you'd look at someone holding up the line at Starbucks. "Can I help you?" he said, like I was the inconvenience. "Oh, I think you can," I replied, calm as a lake on a windless morning. I didn't tell him my name. I didn't have to. His eyes flicked to the bottle in my hand. The same shampoo she carried around like a teddy bear, now held between my thumb and index like it was a loaded question. I believe this belongs to Monica, I said. The color drained from his face like someone had pulled the plug on his ego. I stepped past him without being invited. He didn't stop me. Confidence does that. It opens doors before you knock. She was on the couch, blanket draped over her legs, hair in a messy bun like she was trying to convince herself this was just another casual evening. Except she wasn't casual. Not when she saw me. Adam. Her voice went brittle. What are you doing here? Thought I'd return your shampoo, I said. I held it up like a peace offering. Seems it's been enjoying its little field trips. She blinked. Once. Twice. Her mouth opened. Closed. Like her brain was buffering. You tracked me. No, I said. I tracked the bottle. You were just a passenger. The guy, let's call him Derek, because of course his name was Derek, started to speak, but I raised a finger. Not a threat. Just punctuation. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here to deliver 3 things. 1. Your bottle. 2. My resignation. And 3. I pulled a folded piece of paper from my jacket and placed it gently on the coffee table. She stared at it like it might explode. What is that? She asked. That, I said, is a printed log of everywhere you and your shampoo have been over the last 3 months. You'll notice a lot of overlap with your lies. I let the silence hang. Let it marinate in the space between us. I was going to talk to you about this, she said. Eventually. I raised an eyebrow. Before or after you finished the bottle? Her mouth twisted. Not into guilt. Not even remorse. Just frustration, the kind people get when their secret playlist hits shuffle in front of the wrong crowd. Derek, sensing he was now a background character in a movie he didn't understand, quietly disappeared into the hallway. Probably to Google what to say when husband finds out. I don't know what you want me to say, Monica muttered. That's the thing, I replied, turning toward the door. I didn't come here for answers. I came for closure. The kind that fits in a bottle and ends with silence. And with that, I left. Calm. Unbothered. Shampoo in their hands. Power back in mine. But don't worry. This wasn't the revenge. This was just the opening act that I didn't go home that night. Not because I couldn't. Because I wouldn't. You see, when someone rewrites your life without permission, the last thing you do is return to the chapter they tore in half and pretend it's still a novel worth reading. So instead, I went to the Marriott on 11th. Nothing fancy, just high enough that you can look out the window and realize how small everything feels when your world cracks. I ordered room service, took a long shower, and sat there in a white towel watching late-night infomercials about steak knives and miracle wrinkle cream. It was peaceful, too peaceful, and I knew that peace wasn't going to last long. The next morning, my phone blew up like a toddler with a drum set. Monica, 7:42 a.m. Can we talk? Monica, 8:03 a.m. You blindsided me. Monica, 8:17 a.m. You had no right to invade my privacy like that. Ah, yes. The classic reframe. When caught red-handed, make it about the handcuffs. Then came the phone calls. 10 in a row. I answered none of them. Instead, I forwarded one of her texts to my lawyer, a man named Curtis, whose idea of small talk involves prenuptial clauses and spousal asset protection. Is this enough to establish probable cause for abandonment and deceit? I asked. He replied within 5 minutes. Absolutely. And if you give me till noon, I'll have a draft ready that'll make her wish she'd used conditioner instead. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who gets excited about legal paperwork, but I'm the kind of guy who appreciates a clean boundary. Back at the house, I made a surgical extraction of my life. Just like she never noticed the GPS tracker in her shampoo, she also didn't notice the subtle disappearance of my essentials: laptop, documents, backup hard drives, my father's watch, my mother's recipe book. All quietly removed over the course of the past 2 weeks. I didn't just leave. I made sure there was nothing left of me to trip over. That evening, I returned to the house for one last thing: my dog. Harvey, 10-year-old border collie with more loyalty in one paw than Monica had in her entire circulatory system. She opened the door with that same half-offended, half-dramatic energy she always wore when she wasn't in control. "What the hell are you doing here?" she asked. "Getting Harvey," I said, stepping inside without breaking stride. "You don't just get to walk in like." I held up a slip of paper, the signed custody agreement Curtis drafted that morning. She stared at it, speechless, eyes flicking across the notarized stamp like it was a death certificate. You filed already?" she whispered. I whistled, and Harvey trotted over, tail wagging like he hadn't just lived in a den of betrayal. Yep, I said. Turns out when you play house with a man who gives you gift shampoo, the one you married upgrades to a lawyer who reads fine print in his sleep. She folded her arms. You're being cruel. I clipped Harvey's leash and turned toward her. No, Monica, I said evenly. I'm being precise. Then I walked out, down the steps, across the lawn, into the part of my life where silence, finally, meant peace. But again, that wasn't the revenge. That was still me being nice. You ever walk through your own life like it's a museum? That's what the next few days felt like. I stayed at the Marriott a bit longer than I needed to. Not because I liked the complimentary breakfast or the way the housekeeping staff folded towels into swans, but because distance makes clarity louder. And man, when you get quiet, you start to hear everything. You hear the lie in her laugh, echoing from last month's dinner party when she said I was the rock that keeps her grounded. You hear the shift in tone when she got texts and would smile without sharing. You hear every night she turned her back early and every morning she forgot to say goodbye. Funny how silence starts talking once you give it space. Now let's talk about revenge. Not the cartoon kind. No smashed windows, no slashed tires, no dramatic parking lot monologues. That's amateur hour. That's for people who need her to know they're angry. I didn't need Monica to know anything. I needed the world to. Let me back up. Monica's entire persona, her career, her circle, her self-worth, was built on one thing: presentation. Her job? Social media consultant for lifestyle brands. Her clients paid her to look perfect and pretend it was effortless. Her Instagram was her altar. Curated. Pristine. She was the queen of soft Sundays and midweek zen. Every post had a quote in a flowy font, her legs crossed in yoga pants, a cup of matcha in one hand and betrayal in the other. But behind the scenes, there was rot in the foundation. Here's where being the boring husband comes in handy. Over the years, I'd helped her build that brand. Website management, client emails, even tweaking her bio to make it sound more manifestation with monetization. She trusted me with her passwords because, in her words, you're not the type to snoop. No, I'm the type to remember. So on a cool Wednesday evening, while she was probably at Derek's place painting lies on his chest, I logged into her Instagram drafts, the ones she pre-scheduled for weeks in advance. Oh, Monica. There were 37 queued posts, all timed with hashtags like hashtag grateful vibes and hashtag unbothered energy. One of them was scheduled for Friday at 9 a.m. A photo of her doing a downward dog pose by the beach, captioned, "This view. Everything that no longer serves me dizzy hashtag let go hashtag healing era." I sat there for a full minute just appreciating the irony. So I scheduled one more post, timed for exactly 2 minutes after hers. Same background, same beach. But this time, it was me, holding Harvey on a leash, wearing sunglasses, standing dead center in the shot she thought she had all to herself. Caption: sometimes letting go means stepping aside so they can fall on their own. Poprints hashtag real healing hashtag no filter hashtag watch closely. I let that simmer. But that wasn't even the big move. You remember that shampoo bottle? The one she loved because it smelled like summer mornings and possibility? Well, turns out the brand, Valera, is one of her biggest clients. She landed them 2 years ago and never shut up about it. Got them verified, doubled their following, was in talks to become their full-time creative director. And I had the receipts. See, once I planted the GPS tracker, I didn't just monitor the locations. I saved every route, timestamp, and heat map, all backed up. I also kept the texts, the ones she sent from our shared iPad, forgetting it was synced to her phone. The ones like, "Don't worry, I only use the Valera stuff around Adam, so he thinks I still care," face with tears of joy. And, "It's kind of hilarious. He bought me the same scent I already had from you. It's like he's helping us." Yeah, I saved those. So I sent an anonymous email to Valera's board with the subject line: "This is who represents your brand." No commentary, just the screenshots. GPS data showing where the shampoo had traveled during the alleged client shoots. The texts, a few side-by-side timestamps of Monica claiming to be on campaign retreats while being at Derek's house. The kind of package that lands with a dull, heavy thud. That same evening, she texted me, "Did you mess with my social? Something's wrong with my page." I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, "Adam, I'm serious. Did you post something?" Then, Valera called. They're suspending the contract pending review. What did you do? Still nothing from me. Finally. You vindictive little coward. Ah, there she was. The real Monica. Stripped of the hashtags and herbal tea, lashing out behind the glass. But I didn't reply, because I didn't need to say a word. She built a temple to perception. I just adjusted the lighting. Now her phone rings, but it's not admiration. It's inquiry. Now her inbox dings, but it's not opportunity. It's accountability. Now the world sees what I saw. A woman who posed like a saint while doing devilry in daylight. And me? I just went to bed early that night. Harvey curled at my feet. Phone on silent. No plans, no noise. Peaceful. But it's not over yet. There's one more piece I've been holding. One final card. The funny thing about building a lie is that you get so good at the architecture, you forget who's watching the scaffolding. Monica always thought she was smarter, more intuitive, more in tune. Her words, not mine. I was just the man who handled the boring stuff. Mortgage payments, insurance, the Wi-Fi bill. Turns out, the boring stuff is where all the pressure points live. Let me rewind to 3 weeks before the shampoo incident. Back when I still held the illusion that maybe we could work through the distance between us. Back when I thought book club just meant she'd finally finish something besides Instagram captions. That was when I noticed the mirror. Our bedroom had this long, antique mirror, Monica's pride and joy. Gilded frame, a little warped from age, but she loved it. Said it made her feel connected to her femininity. Whatever that meant. But then one morning, I noticed something. A tiny sticker at the top left corner. Like a smudge, but rectangular. Barely visible unless you were really looking. I peeled it off. Underneath was a pinhole lens. That mirror was a two-way camera. Now before you think I went full paranoia, no. I didn't plant it. I knew our house. I knew our tech. I knew what I installed and what I didn't. And this was new. So I did what any calm, boring husband would do. I traced the signal. Turns out, the feed was being backed up to a Dropbox account not under my name. The email address, brandon.media.team@gmail.com. Brandon, of course. He was always just a friend. The one who gave her the shampoo in the first place. The one who once emailed me asking if I could help her brand stand out with a little more visual depth. I thought it was a weird phrase at the time. Now I knew what he meant. They were filming. In my house. My bedroom. She didn't know I found it. She just kept walking past that mirror, doing her hair, checking her lipstick, talking on speakerphone about content creation and light angles like it was innocent. Like she hadn't turned our home into a studio for betrayal. And so, I made a copy. Everything. Every file. Every gigabyte of footage. Downloaded, cataloged, and stored securely. Because if there's one thing Monica valued more than her image, it was control. And I had both now. Fast forward to the week after I walked out. Her career was limping. Valera had gone dark. A few other smaller clients started postponing deliverables. Word travels fast when your whole brand is built on purity and clarity. I waited until she was most off balance. Then I sent her a package. Not digital. Physical. A simple brown envelope. Inside was a USB drive labeled, "From your favorite mirror," and a single line on a sticky note. "Smile. You're always on camera." She got it around 11:30 a.m. I know because I tracked the delivery and because 5 minutes later she tried to call me 8 times. I let them ring. Then the text started. "What is this? Where did you get this footage? This is illegal. You're sick." Ah, projection. Her old friend. Now to be clear, I never leaked anything. Never posted it. Never sent it to a soul. I'm not a monster. I just wanted her to know. The story she thought she was directing? I had the raw footage. She'd been living in a house of glass. And I just reminded her the curtains were never closed. That same afternoon, Curtis, my lawyer, filed for full asset separation. Monica had built her brand using my resources. Wi-Fi, workspace, our home address for her LLC, and our joint account, the one she used to buy ad space and pay that personal photographer with the fedora. Curtis made sure every cent was accounted for. "She's going to claim intellectual property," he told me. "But we'll counterclaim misuse of marital assets for personal gain. And if push comes to shove," he tapped the USB drive on the table. "We've got leverage she doesn't even know how to classify." It wasn't about humiliating her. It was about stopping the show. Because for years, Monica thought life was a performance. One where I played the quiet background actor while she delivered monologues to imaginary followers about strength and freedom, all while using me as the backdrop. But every performer forgets. The lighting guy sees everything. Now, this is where it got interesting. 3 days later, she showed up at my hotel. No warning. Just walked into the lobby like she still had access to my schedule. Like she still had rights. She looked tired. Real tired. The kind of tired that expensive eye cream and curated captions can't fix. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stared at her for a beat too long, then stood and motioned to a quiet corner by the window. We sat. She folded her hands, took a breath, tried to smile. "I know I've made mistakes. Which one are we talking about?" I asked flat. She blinked. The smile faltered. "I miss you." I almost laughed. "I think what you miss," I said, "is protection. Comfort. A buffer between your double life and the consequences you thought would never come." "No," she said quickly. "No, Adam. That's not fair. I loved you." Past tense. Silence. She looked out the window, maybe trying to gather a memory that could justify everything. Then she tried the Hail Mary. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Everything's falling apart." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "That tends to happen when you build a throne out of borrowed trust." She didn't speak after that. Just sat there, mouth barely open, eyes darting like she was scanning for an emergency exit. Finally, she stood. "You really won't forgive me?" I leaned back in my chair. "I already did," I said. "That's why I left." Forgiveness isn't the same as permission. She left quietly. No shouting. No tears. Just silence. And it was beautiful. It's a strange thing, stepping back into a version of your life that no longer fits. After Monica walked out of that hotel lobby, heels clicking, face unreadable, I sat alone for the better part of an hour, nursing a black coffee that had gone cold. I didn't replay the conversation. I didn't question myself. I didn't wonder if I'd been too harsh. I'd spent enough years doing that. Instead, I opened my notebook, the one I'd always carried for work, thoughts, budget notes, reminders. I turned to a fresh page, drew a line down the middle, and labeled the columns. What she took. What I have. Simple. Honest. On the left, I wrote, the house. Half the furniture. Friends who chose her side before hearing mine. Some of the good memories. My reputation, temporarily. On the right, Harvey. My dignity. Every login to our shared business assets. The truth. A lawyer who sharpens words like knives. I stared at the list for a while. Let it settle. It didn't hurt. Not anymore. It was like reading a report about someone else's storm damage. You can mourn the fence and the siding, but you're just glad the foundation's still there. And mine was. The day after that meeting, I checked out of the hotel. Not because I had to, but because it was time. I moved into a small rental on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but it had a fenced yard for Harvey, a porch where I could drink my morning coffee, and best of all, no ghosts. No fake laughter. No two-way mirrors. No lipstick-stained wine glasses sitting out like trophies. It was quiet, and it was mine. The real beauty of solitude? You stop being background noise in someone else's story and start hearing your own thoughts again. Now, let's talk about the whispers. The town we lived in wasn't exactly a metropolis. News traveled faster than delivery pizza. By the time I'd unpacked my third box in the new house, I'd already gotten 2 calls and a text from people I hadn't heard from in years. "Hey, Adam. I just wanted to say, I heard some stuff. And I'm sorry. If you ever want to grab a beer, catch up." It was nice. But it was also hilarious. Because for years, I'd been invisible. I was Monica's husband. The calm one. The guy who brought the wine to couples' nights and left early to let her have her fun. The one who didn't post much, didn't gossip, didn't chase clout. Now, suddenly, I was interesting. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They were reaching out because they smelled smoke and wanted to know how the fire started. But I wasn't giving interviews. Instead, I posted one thing to my own social account. No filters. No captions. Just a picture of me on the porch, mug in hand, Harvey at my feet. The comments rolled in. "Glad to see you smiling, man. Real ones rebuild. Respect. Whatever happened, I know you handled it with class." Monica didn't comment, but she viewed it. Twice. Now you might be wondering, did she try to come back? Oh, she tried. 3 weeks after the lobby incident, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. Cream stationery. Her name on the top in perfect cursive like it was the closing signature of a lifestyle blog. Inside, a 3-page essay. It started with, "I've had time to reflect," which is code for everything I counted on fell apart. She talked about confusion, pressure, losing herself, how things got blurry, how she missed my calm, my consistency, how she realized no one had ever really supported her the way I had. Classic gaslight to gratitude pipeline. She ended it with a simple ask. "I know things can't go back, but maybe we can start over? A conversation, a coffee, anything." I folded the letter neatly, put it in the shredder, because here's what she still didn't understand. I was the boring guy, the consistent guy, the quiet, folding laundry, dinner on time, never late for bills guy. And she took that for granted. But boring doesn't mean blind. It means patient. And patience? That's just strategy in disguise. I did take one more step. One final nail to close the box, not out of spite, but out of completion. See, Monica's friend Brandon, the shampoo donor, mirror voyeur, Instagram flirt. Turns out his little startup wasn't doing so well. So I made a call. One call. To a guy I knew from undergrad. He worked in commercial advertising, real money, national campaigns, the kind of clients Monica had been chasing for years. I gave him a heads up, casually mentioned I had some files, some footage, and more importantly, context. Didn't even have to send anything. The guy said, "Thanks, man. That's good to know." We were actually considering a pitch from them next quarter. Emphasis on were. And just like that, door closed. Quietly. No slam. No smoke. Just a soft click. You might think revenge is the loud part. The shouting, the chaos, the tables flipped and wine spilled. But no, real revenge is silent. It walks out of the fire wearing clean clothes and doesn't look back. And when people ask what happened, it smiles, shrugs, and says, "Sometimes things fall apart. And sometimes that's the best thing that could ever happen. Because you don't win by hurting them back. You win by healing, so while they can't recognize the version of you they used to drag down." By the time spring rolled around, Monica had lost most of her client base. Valera dropped her publicly, something about misaligned values and brand integrity. Her backup sponsors? Gone too. Turns out companies don't like ambassadors who record content from bedrooms with hidden cameras. Oops. The house, our house, was now hers alone. But a loan came with a price. She couldn't keep up with the mortgage. The lifestyle she curated like a museum exhibit started showing cracks. Fewer glossy posts, fewer filtered sunsets, fewer hashtag Monday motivations. But she still had one last card. Me. She tried again. This time, in person. I was walking Harvey around the lake when she pulled up in a silver Lexus I didn't recognize. Windows tinted. Rental. She stepped out wearing sunglasses and gym clothes that hadn't seen a gym. Her energy? Polished apology. "Adam," she said, like the sound of my name still tasted familiar. I didn't stop walking. "Can we talk?" she asked, matching my pace. "You mean now that everyone else left the party?" She winced. "I made mistakes. I see that now." I didn't respond. Not out of spite, just boredom. She kept talking, filling the silence like it owed her something. About how she felt dismantled. How she realized she'd confused attention for affection. How she missed our routines. "Even your stupid way of making coffee," she said with a fake laugh. That one almost made me smile. "You burned it all down," I said. "But you thought you'd get to keep the lighter." She stopped walking. "I never meant to hurt you." "That's the problem," I said, turning to face her. "You didn't think about me at all." I left her standing there, sunglasses slipping down her nose, the reflection of a life she could have had flickering in the lenses. She didn't follow. Even she knew this was done. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the next phase. Because when you stop trying to prove your worth, you realize how much of your energy was spent explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. My phone stayed quiet. My house stayed clean. My mind stayed sharp. And Monica? She made one last move. A care package, left on my porch in a gift bag with a handwritten note. "For everything. I'm sorry. Truly." Inside, my old hoodie, the one she used to sleep in, now folded like a peace offering. A box of my favorite cereal. A flash drive. Curious, I plugged it into my laptop. It was a slideshow. Pictures. Dozens of them. Of us. Vacations. Anniversaries. Goofy ones. Sweet ones. A few where I was cooking, smiling, not knowing I was being photographed. And the last slide? A photo of the shampoo bottle. With the caption, I know what it meant now. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I closed the laptop. Unplugged the flash drive. tossed it in the trash. Because here's the thing about nostalgia, it's not memory. It's makeup, a way to pretty up the pain. She thought that showing me my past would give her a piece of my future. But I wasn't hers to win anymore. She showed up one more time. Unexpected. Middle of a Thursday. I was organizing old files in my office when the doorbell rang. She stood there like someone asking for shelter in a storm she created. "I won't stay," she said. "Just let me say it." I nodded once. That's all she got. "I was selfish," she said. "Arrogant. I thought I was outgrowing you when I was really outgrowing myself." "Good line," I replied. She didn't laugh. I thought I wanted more. And now I realize. I had everything. I let the words hang. Not to savor them. To examine how hollow they sounded. "I'm not asking to come back," she said. "I know that's over." I raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here?" She blinked. "I want to know how you're okay." That was the real question. Not how I moved on, but how I did it without her. I stood there a moment. Let her feel it. Then I answered. "I let it hurt," I said. But I didn't let it linger. I leaned on the doorframe. "You thought I was boring because I didn't react like you. But that's not calm. That's control. And I used it to rebuild everything you burned." She nodded. Slowly. The smallest sign of respect she'd ever given. "I hope you're happy, Adam," she said quietly. I shrugged. Happiness is overrated. I'm at peace. Then I closed the door. Softly. Not slamming it. Because I didn't need the drama. I'd already won. So here's where the story ends. And where the revenge quietly finishes its arc. It wasn't the social media post. It wasn't the client exodus. It wasn't even the dismantling of her brand. It was what came after. 6 months later, I got a message. Not from her. From Brandon. Yes, that Brandon. Subject line. "Didn't expect this from you." Inside, a forwarded message from a recruiter. One of Monica's former sponsors had blacklisted him. Word had spread. Turns out, their partnership wasn't just personal, it was contractual. And when the scandal broke, he got caught in the fallout. Now, he couldn't find work. He was emailing me, the ex-husband, asking if I could clarify some things. I didn't reply, because nothing says revenge like letting someone drown in the very wave they helped create. I closed my inbox, took Harvey out for a walk, brewed a fresh cup of coffee the way she used to mock me for, slow, methodical, a little too precise. I sat on my porch, sun low in the sky, phone off, no audience, no applause, just me, still standing, still steady. And the best part? She'll never be able to explain what happened. How the man she underestimated outmaneuvered her in silence. How the quiet one ruined her carefully curated collapse without ever raising his voice. She'll tell the story, but no one will believe her. Because I never raised a hand. Just raised the stakes. And walked away whole.